Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Saturday, February 2nd, 2019, 3:56 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. Well, we've got a lot going on today. We've got new methane data. We've got stuff going on with sulfur dioxide, and got a report I'm going to share with you, and wonderful comments that came in under my video from yesterday. Wonderful, beautiful, loving comments that I want to share, and then an earthquake report and lots of activity over there. So it's going to be a full show. I hope everyone is doing good, and sit back and let's see what's going on. So here we are on CAMS, Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services, and they put up one new day's worth of data. When they just have 1 day's worth of data, they take out this left column for the base time. So we're just seeing 2 columns for the area and the level. So the day that they have up for data is from Tuesday, January 29th. Yesterday I showed the data from Monday the 28th, and I've chosen the Arctic view and surface level. And so this is where we left off with yesterday, or from the Monday data, where the methane, we saw the release come all the way across the Arctic to the northern edge of Greenland and to these Canadian islands. So, and then another release beginning up here north of Norway and Sweden and the Finland area. So and this large red release from the east of Novaya Zemlya. So I have the movie loaded up. It's like, as you know, it's jerky the first time through, and then it smooths out. So the first day is actual data, and then it goes into the forecast period for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, so that's at the end of the data. That's at the end of Tuesday. So we can see this more methane being released to the east of Novaya Zemlya and coming up through there's sea ice there. It's coming up through the sea ice, and as it's spreading, it's actually into the red there now, not just yellow and orange. So now it's running into the forecast period, and then we can see another big release building here in Russia, and that down here out of Europe coming up, and coming up out of the Swedish area, Swedish countries there, and coming up out of the Chukchi Sea and streaming across. So that's what it's doing into the forecast period through Saturday, which is today. So, you know, they're behind on their releasing their methane data and their carbon dioxide data, but for the other things that they report on, it's usually the day of. So it's not stopping. Seriously, it's not stopping. So I also have the North Pole view pulled up, so we can get a view of the whole northern hemisphere, including China and including India, which are big methane producers. And so let's just watch this. And pay close attention to the China area and the articles. Well, the post that I'm going to present to you today has to do with methane emissions and carbon dioxide emissions from China, and how the official word from China, I mean, they've been lying about curbing their emissions and all that. We can obviously see that they're the biggest emitters on the planet. I mean, that's obvious when you look at these pictures. Also, when we go over to sulfur dioxide, I have sulfur dioxide pulled up worldwide, or this is the global view, and this is from today, Saturday. Well, speaking of China, see, it's got a lot of red and then the gold and the tan colors, and so they're the highest emitters for sulfur dioxide, not from natural causes. But what I wanted to show you is this release down here in South America. Now, we've seen this before. It's been a while since we've seen a release like this. I will run this movie. Now, the forecast period for sulfur dioxide is not that accurate on cams because it changes so quickly. They can't predict an explosion or a volcano going off unless it's one like what's going off in Mexico constantly or what's going off in Hawaii. But so this happened today. So this release happened today. This is out of Brazil, and I'll wait until it starts over and then we're going to look at this. Okay, so it started this and it wasn't there yesterday. I went to Friday and there was not there. So it actually started, it shows up at 0 UTC time here on Saturday, which where I live in the world, I'm 8 hours earlier than the UTC time. So that would be, that would have been 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, my time. So let's just run through this. And then it starts dissipating, but so it's definitely in this Brazil area, and there's really not much of anything there. I've looked there in that area on Google Earth in the past, and there's just not a heck of a lot down there. So we're going to go to the print version of this so we can look a little closer. See, and it's right out of this central area, and that's where a bunch of forests are, mountains and forests. But that's a huge release. That can be an earthquake. It can be volcano. I don't know. Or I just don't know. But we'll be watching. They've been having lots of earthquakes all the way around here in South America, and many times the release can show up miles away, like 100 miles away from where the earthquake happens a few days later, or like we saw down here on the western coast of California. Couldn't really put put together the cause of that sulfur dioxide release that happened last Saturday over here that looked like it started in the San Francisco area and came down the coastline of California. But we can see the residual of that sulfur dioxide here. That's from that release. But there have been lots of earthquakes. And then here we have Popocatépetl and another volcano erupting in Mexico. We've got Hawaii volcanic activity here. We've got volcanic and earthquake activity up here in Alaska. And then down here, remember I showed, when was it? Day before yesterday in my report, the volcano lines in South America, and there's a line up here, and then there's a line down here on the west side. So these are volcanoes that are going off. I mean, they may not be huge eruptions. They don't have to be huge eruptions in order to be releasing. And look also at how high the sulfur dioxide readings are around the Antarctic. That's really high. They shouldn't be that high, but there you go. So now let's go. I'm going to leave this as a backdrop, and the next thing I want to go to, I want to get started with comments next. This comment came in under my show from 2 days ago, my ClimateCast update, an earthquake report from Robin Westenra. He's Seymour Rocks 97 here. He says it's not just China's methane emissions that are going exponential, but CO2 and other greenhouse gases and pollutants as well. We've been fed fake news and propaganda since the Paris Accord. The true state of China's emissions of carbon dioxide and methane and other greenhouse gases. And he did a blog post on this where he compiles several different articles together to bring it all together. And this is really good reporting, Robin. But before we go there, I have cams pulled up for carbon dioxide, and this is worldwide, and we can, and this is total column level, and we can easily see that China is leading in the carbon dioxide production worldwide. And the level down here, the scale is, the top end is anywhere between 420 to 1,000 parts per million, this dark brown, which is what we're seeing here out of China. So then when you click on that link, it comes to his blog post from today, China's greenhouse gas emissions, and he says just in the last few days, reports have come out that China is not walking the walk on methane emissions. This has confirmed what Margo and I have been observing on cams for many months. And then here's an article about the Chinese regulations on coal mining have not curbed the nation's growing methane emissions over the past 5 years as intended, etc., etc., from the Carnegie Institution for Science. So this came out on January 29th. And then he reposts it here. He says, now it has become clear that this is his comment, Robin's comment. Now it has become clear that not only are CO2 emissions not being reduced, but are on track for a historic rise. This is something that I, along with others, have been observing for even longer, so much so that we were musing whether the increased CO2 emissions measured at Mauna Loa were reflecting factors such as the rise in natural sources, such as massive forest fires around the growth. Turns out the whole thing was a lie, or mass exercise, its self-deception, and anthropogenic emissions were increasing. Here's an article from Robert Husinger. CO2 on track for largest rise in 62 years. And this is a graph from Sam Carana showing, like in 2015, we were at around 400 parts per million, and then it goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down, up, down, and then recently in 2019, it's gone. Just in the short amount of time in 2019, it's gone straight up. And this is 415 up here, parts per million. This is 410. So he says, in January 2019, hourly average CO2 levels well above 414 parts per million showed up at Mauna Loa, Hawaii. And this is out of Counterpunch from February 1st. And so they're saying what happened and why is it going up, and since the Paris Climate Accord in 2015, and all the nations were supposed to agree on limiting carbon dioxide emissions and this and that, and there have been studies done that in where was it, Puerto Rico, in the rainforest there, these certain frogs and things are dying because it's too warm there, and this and that. The insects are dying. It's just, and it's just too much. And so basically the whole thing about trying to keep temperatures lower than 2°C is just a joke, because in some areas around the planet, like the rainforest, they've already increased 2.4°C. Their temperatures already increased 2.4°C. So it's just a joke, and this just more lies. So these are all very good articles, and here's a lie that China says they've already hit their 2020 target to cut carbon emissions. That's another lie. And China's carbon emissions falling while Trump points U.S. in opposite direction. So China's carbon emissions falling is a lie. And it just goes on and on and on. So it's all a lie. It's all a big exercise in futility. And then Robin did a video here showing methane, and this is over China for total column. And, it's obvious. So, and then Sam Carana did this post, accelerating growth of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So, if you want the research and the data, it's all right there. And it's all showing that it's all a lie, and that even when they have the regulations and the rules, who's going to be the policeman to go around and make sure that every single country is doing what they're supposed to be doing? When the fox in the hen house, it's like, when you've got Satan's minions running everything, and also reporting on everything, Who's gonna go police them? So thank you, Robin, for that research and bringing that to our attention and pointing out that it's an exercise in futility for any of us. And I used to get upset when I saw stuff like that. I don't anymore. I normally don't read the whole articles or anything. It's like, well, I'm not surprised. It's just more lies. And frankly, I don't want to hear any more lies. I want to see the truth. And the truth is what we're seeing when we see these pictures. That's the truth right there. That's the truth staring you in the face. This is the truth staring you in the face. This is the truth staring you in the face. And if this is what we have to, the lengths we have to go to get to the truth, then let's do that. And, let go of these people who are lying. So, anyway, there's that. So thank you, Robin. We appreciate that information. Then Darren Koppel leaves a comment under my ClimateCast video. He says, "Hi Margo, getting changes of temperature 59 Fahrenheit to a high of 86 Fahrenheit and similar ranges throughout this week has been a wet summer." Yeah, and he lives down in New Zealand. So thank you, Darren, for that report from down under. And then we're going to get into the comments under my video from yesterday. And I talked a lot about the 5 stages of awareness and how to deal with coming to grips with all of this, and I had kind of an emotional talk about it. And so now we're going to read our comments. Environmental Coffee House says good evening, and that's Sandy Shellis's YouTube channel, and I say hi, Sandy. Thanks for checking in, Sandy. I don't ever see you anymore. Then Heather Macmillan says, thanks, Margo. It looks like it doubled in just a couple of weeks. I see a lot more dark red. Meaning the methane. Yeah, it's getting worse. It's getting worse, and we can see it day by day. It's getting worse. Thanks for checking in, Heather, and thanks for your comment. Then here's the next comment. Nat Morley says, hi, Margo. Thanks so much for dedicating so much of your video time in responding to mine and Patricia's dilemma. You're welcome, Nat. Your moral support means a lot, and your discussion was very helpful. Like you, for myself, I feel in a good place of acceptance and spiritually at one with the universe. I'm a chorister at Tewkesbury Abbey, a beautiful medieval building. Singing sacred music and praying there is very uplifting. I'll bet it is. It would just be amazing just to visit a place like that, I would think. Also, right from the start, I shunned the rat race. As a geography student, I lived with Australian Aborigines and wrote about the tragedy of the clash between their culture, which realized that we are part of the web of life and should never take more than we need, and our alienated culture. It is more for all the innocent creatures and the young people who are just at the beginning of their spiritual journey that I feel so sad. It's great to hear you're a pianist. My musical daughter and I love playing the piano. Music is so important. Nikola Tesla said something about how to understand the universe. We needed to see it more in terms of resonance and frequency. Sorry, I've just put up another essay-sized comment. It's just great to talk to people on the same frequency. Big hugs to all. P.S. Yes, it's so scary seeing how much Arctic methane is bubbling up at this time of the year. Thank you, Nat. I appreciate you sharing and being here, and I love us getting to know each other and being able to have our conversations and our discussions and supporting each other, and I think it's real important. So I really appreciate you being here and bringing your light and your presence to our group. And I agree with you, and you've had some really wonderful experiences, and so keep posting here. I look forward to it. And then Marcia Noren, one of my friends who's a regular here, says, Nat, what a divine calling for you to lift your voice in chorus in Tewksbury Abbey. Now I must go back and watch this again to learn what your dilemma is. Albums of medieval chants sung in cathedrals are part of my favorite collection. Hope you will stay and share more with Margo and with all of us here. Bless you. I agree, Marcia. I second that. I second that. And then Marcia Noren says, ah yes, the dilemma we share as human beings who resonate so deeply with the earth's beloved animals. What have we done to them? The grief over their suffering rips me to shreds. Twin daughters in their teens, what a gift you are to them as they are to you as you live your lives fully. That has to be enough, doesn't it? I tell myself the same about my 13-year-old grandson. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you for being here and sharing your light with us. And then DDDSB says, great post as always, Margo. Thank you. Power to the truth, indeed. As a kid growing up in the 70s, I learned of the horrors and consequences of nuclear war and had a grandmother who was an environmentalist. I knew from a young age that I might very well live to see us destroy it all, and this scenario has been running in the background all of my life. I'm agnostic at best, perhaps more Taoist than Buddhist. Simply put, I'm not in charge. And in total agreement with your assessment that this is a runaway train with limited time left on the tracks. Thank you for sharing, DDDSB, and like I pointed out yesterday, there are so many things that can kill us. I could name off probably 15 things. It's not just carbon or methane, it's not just the climate. I mean, it's a whole laundry list of things. So I appreciate you being here and sharing your comment and sharing your light with us. Patricia Powell says, thank you for explaining yourself to us. You're welcome, Patricia. You are truly a most kind and beautiful soul with great knowledge and love in your heart. It is my good fortune to have found you. Bless you and all the work you do for us. You're like a candle in the darkness. Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate you. Thank you for that lovely comment. And thank you for being here and sharing your light with us. Sensible Hair says, thank you, Margo. You're welcome, Sensible Hair. And then Future A to B says, thanks, Margo, for your informative reports about Earth's climate. I like your style, your voice, and your warnings that we all must think about our planet, that we must try to save what's left and try to use less of the Earth's resources before it's too late. Well, thank you, Future A to B, and you're welcome, and thanks for being here and sharing with us. Marcia Noren says, thank you, Margo, for taking time to talk about the inevitable emotional pain that comes with processing levels of awareness and stages of grief. It helps to connect with others who resonate with some form of inner spiritual practice, not just a belief system. Atheists have chosen a fixed belief system that tends to justify being permanently angry. That means kissing today goodbye when there aren't many todays left. Thank you, Marcia, and you're welcome, and thank you for being here, and thank you for your comment and your support. J. Eric Smith says, 27-minute mark, another gem of wisdom. I've never heard that statement before anywhere. Truly profound. We live in a satanic paradigm. There is a group. There it is responsible for the demise of humanity, and their souls are damned to hell for what they have wrought. Well, thank you, J. Eric Smith. Thanks for being here and being here with us and sharing your light. And then Future A to B leaves another comment and says, I just believe God is nature. Maybe I am an atheist, but I just feel love to the earth more and more as it was before. I really hope there is some nature left on earth, let's say 10,000 years from now. By the way, I am from Denmark. Well, thank you for sharing that, Future A to B. And I find evidence of God in nature more than anywhere else. And it's I used to love to be in nature so much. It's hard for me to go out and be in nature now, though, because of my health and various reasons. But I've done, as you can see from different pictures that I've shared and things, I've done lots and lots of hiking and lots of road trips, and I've lived, I don't know in how many, like 9 states in the United States, and traveled a lot, and I find you just find beauty everywhere you go. You can find beauty in the nature, whether it's a desert or a mountain or a meadow or wherever you are, a snow-covered landscape. I mean, I love it all. I really love it all, and for me, I feel very close to God when I'm in nature, and so I think a lot of people feel the way you do. They really feel the way you do. But I don't know that I would really call that an atheist, because nature is life and living, and it's what the spark. It's the spark that keeps going, and that spark is what is from, for me, the way I see it, is from God. And without that spark, we wouldn't have anything. So thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing. I appreciate you. So on that note, I'm going to close out my carbon dioxide, close out my comments. We're going to get right to earthquakes. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Remember, this is the weekend, so a lot of the earthquake makers are not at work today, and they may be taking Monday off. Plus, it's Super Bowl weekend, so a lot of people who would be blasting and exploding stuff and making earthquakes, they're not going to be making earthquakes. And so, considering that, we've got a lot going on. And we've got a long weekend. Monday is a holiday for the United States. It's President's Day. So here we are on USGS, all magnitudes worldwide, 177 earthquakes showing on the map. And then when we go to 2.5 magnitude and higher, we've got 56 showing on the map. So we've got a lot going on. And so I want to start up here and report on this. In this Arctic region, we had 3 earthquakes right up here to the east of Greenland, right on this red line. This is the line between the North American tectonic plate and the Eurasian plate over to the east here. Here's Iceland down here. You can see that that line goes right through Iceland. And we had 3 earthquakes right here, right near the, right on, almost directly on this red line. Since yesterday, there was a 4.4 that happened at 11:30 last night. This is Pacific time. All of these times I'm quoting are Pacific time, United States. Then there was a 4.9 that happened at 1:18 this morning, and a 4.6 that happened at 2:13 this morning. So within a 3-hour period, we had these 3 earthquakes. And I always report on Arctic earthquakes over on my Facebook page. Always, because whenever we see stuff like this, we're also worried about what else is going on down underneath, you know, in the plates and with the magma and volcanoes and the methane that's going to be being released from this area of what's going on. So there's that. Right up there. Let me get this lined up the way I like it. Now, okay, let's go up here to Russia. This one is about to come off the map. There was a 4.4 here off the coast of, or to the east of Kamchatka, at 4:53 p.m. yesterday. I might have shown that yesterday, I don't remember. Now let's come around the Ring of Fire. Here today there was a 4.9 that showed up off the coast of Japan. Here's Tokyo. It says it's 36 kilometers southeast of Hasaki. But it's to the east of the mainland, almost straight across from Tokyo, east. Happened at 11:10 this morning, 37 kilometers deep. We can see it's right in between these 2 red lines. Then let's cover this area here next. Down here we had a 5.3 in Hihifo, Tonga, 35 kilometers deep, that happened at 5:11 p.m. yesterday. Then a 5.4 near Hihifo, Tonga again at 11:02 last night, 260 kilometers deep. And then a 4.5 to the west of that other one that happened today at 1:29 p.m., 354 kilometers deep. So 3 in a row, big ones there, right on that red line. Then coming around, we've had lots of activity down here in Indonesia. There was a 4.6 near Kota Ternate at 7:10 p.m. last night, and a 5.2 near Tondano that came in at 5:10 p.m. yesterday, 36 kilometers deep. Then fasten your seat belts. This island is Sumatra. This is part of Indonesia. And we've got 8 on the map here. Some of them were on this little island. I don't know the name of that island, but it says, well, let's just go there. Let's see if it tells us. This is a 5.4, 160 kilometers southeast of Muara Siberut, Indonesia. Palua Pagai Utara. So this is Palua Pagai Utara, the name of this island, I gather. So that's where that one happened, on the island. 5.4. But let's just call them off. Let's go 5.4 right there on the island. This one happened at 1:03 this morning. Then, oh, sorry about that. Then a 6.1 happened right on the coast, like right next to the coast of the island. That happened at 1:27 this morning. Then there was a 5.3 that happened same area at 1:58 this morning. Then a 5.9 same area that happened at 2:59 this morning. 5.9 same place, or on the other side of the island, at 3:01 this morning. 5.1 back down here at 5:10 this morning. 4.6 at 2:05 this morning, 5:33 this morning, and a 4.7 at 12:40 this afternoon. So that's shaking down there. So that could have caused damage. I haven't heard yet. I got kind of a late start to my day, so 8 down here. Big ones. The biggest one was the 6.1. I didn't see any tsunami warnings though. If you go to that wave thing, the earthquake is listed over here, and they're not listing any of those earthquakes for tsunami warnings. They're listing Tonga, possibly, and then one off the coast of California, possibly. But they didn't issue any tsunami warnings. So there's that. Now we're going to come on up here to Burma. There was a 4.2 near Phek, India, at 9:32 this morning, 101 kilometers deep. Then up here there were 2. A 4.1 near Oshkosham, Afghanistan at 12:48 this morning, 229 kilometers deep. And then a 5.6 near Jarm, Afghanistan at 4:04 this morning, 211 kilometers deep. Now that would be big enough to cause damage if it was near a populated area. It looks like it was up in the mountains and not near any towns or anything. Then over here in Turkey, we've got a 4.5, 14 kilometers north of Sion, Turkey, that happened at 4:20 this morning. That's next to a red line. Okay. So we got all those. Now we're going to come across the Pacific. Down here, there was a 5.5 on the West Chile Rise out here in the Pacific Ocean. We can see it's on the line between two plates. That happened at 9:55 this morning, 16 kilometers deep. Then here on land was a 4.5 near Calama, Chile. That happened last night at 6:55 p.m., 133 kilometers deep. Then coming up in Mexico, we've got two. This one was just on the other side of the border of Guatemala, near Tapachuli, or they're saying near Puerto Madero, Mexico. This was a 4.2 that happened at 1:14 this morning, 85 kilometers deep. And then one out here in the ocean near Champerico, Guatemala, a 4.3 that came in at 9:10 this morning. So those are all of them for international earthquakes around the world. Now let's go over to the Dominican Republic. Remember, we're still at 2.5 magnitude and higher. We have 10 showing in the viewing area here. Kind of in a line between Puerto Rico and Santo Domingo, or the Dominican Republic. So they're just in this line going down right between, kind of peppered down. So I'll call these off. 2.6, 2.5, 3.0, 2.8, 2.5, 2.7, 3.3, 3.0, 3.0, and 2.9. So the biggest one was this 3.3 down here. So let's look at all magnitudes over there now. So we have 15 showing all magnitudes. So there were just a few that were underneath, or came in under 2.5 magnitude. They were peppered around through. So 15 down there. So there's that. Now let's go over to Hawaii. We've got 6 all magnitudes here for the last 24 hours. I'll call them off. A 0.9 right here in Mauna Loa, 1.8, 2.0, 2.1, 2.3, and 2.2. So these are up here near this is the Kilauea crater. So they had one in the crater and one on either side, it looks like there. And then down here. And then one up there at Mauna Loa. So there's that. So that's not doing a lot of stuff. Now Alaska. There was this one out here in the Aleutian Islands at 2.6 near Unalaska. Then we're seeing some clusters here. Here, this one just came in. It's a 3.8 near Kodiak. This was a 3.1 near Kodiak. And a 2.7. And then we've got 2 over here. A 3.3 near Chirikov Island. And a 3.1 same place. So these are getting larger in magnitude, we can see. And we've got a few up here in the northern end. We've got a 2.4 Arctic Village, 2.2 Arctic Village, and then a 1.8 Arctic Village. And then they're coming down through the middle of the state here. And we've got here at Anchorage, we've got 42 in the Anchorage, well, in this viewing area here. But let's look at 2.5 magnitude and higher up here. Here was a 3.0, 2.9, 3.2, and 2.5. So we've got to keep an eye on these, because this is where that 7 point whatever it was came in December. Here's a 3.4 near Haines, Alaska. So they're still clustering down here. It's not as clustered as it has been. There's 26 right there. So there's that. Now let's come on down into the United States. We're going to start with these two on the New Madrid fault zone. This 2.3 happened near Lilburn, Missouri. It came in at 12:15 this morning, 4 kilometers deep. And then a 1.6 near Ridgely, Tennessee came in at 4:07 this morning, 10 kilometers deep. Then down here, Pecos, Texas. We've seen them here before, and Dutch Sense says it's from drilling. Here's a 2.6 near Pecos, Texas that came in at 3:07 this morning, 2 kilometers deep. Actually, what he says it is that they're, when they do drilling or fracking or anything like that into the earth, it creates a weak point or a punch hole. And so when pressure builds from one part of the plate, the magma goes moving across and comes up at the weakest points. And so that's how he describes it. And so it came up there and caused an earthquake. Makes sense to me. Okay, now this is unusual. We're not seeing anything being reported in Yellowstone. Now remember, it is the weekend. Let's look up here at the Pacific Northwest. We've got 3 here. We've got a 2.5 right here near River Bend, a 1.6 same place, and then a 0.8 down here at Packwood. And so the blasting is obviously not here today. Obviously, it's an obvious vacancy. Quarry blasting and explosions and things like that. There's an obvious vacancy. But let's go to Nevada next. Look what's going on over here in this eastern part of Nevada, northeastern. This is near Carlin, which is near Elko. There are 3, a 3.3, that's good size, a 1.9, and a 2.1. These are not very deep. This 2.1 was at 0 kilometers depth, right up by the highway. That's Highway 80. The 1.9 was 0.5 kilometers deep, and the 3.3 was 1.3 kilometers deep. So that's sizable. Those are sizable earthquakes there. Here's one down in Utah at Enterprise of 0.3. Then we've got just a few down here near the testing area, Caliente, a 0.3. Nothing in the Las Vegas area. Here's a minus 0.4. 0.4. They're calling these near Beatty. This is part of the nuclear test site and the test range. But just almost nothing down there today because they're not at work. No one's moving stuff underneath the earth today. Underneath the ground. Here's a 1.0 near Hawthorne. Carson City has a 1.2 on Prison Hill that came in at 9:44 last night. Lake Tahoe's clear. Reno. Here's one in Pyramid Lake. We've seen them here before. A 1.0. This came in at 1:59 this afternoon, 13 kilometers deep. That's it for Nevada. Now let's move into California. Here's a 1.6 near Portola. Oh, by the way, in case people are not aware, there's a big winter storm moving into California and Nevada this weekend. And it's going to be dumping rain and snow, but a lot of rain over this Chico and where Paradise, where they had the fire, this whole area, and over in, I mean, it's a huge system coming all the way over into Nevada. And so we've had a lot of snow in the Sierra Nevadas. So if it's raining, it's going to be melting that snow. So there could be a lot of flooding, and plus, I don't know how the Oroville Dam is doing right now and what level the reservoir is at, whether it could flood or what. But here's Paradise where that fire was. But when there's a lot of rain, there's nothing nothing to hold the water back, and they're predicting a lot of flooding and mudslides and landslides and things like that. So it's going to be a mess. So keep everyone in your prayers. Okay, now this is an area that we're watching very closely off the coast of Northern California. We've got 4 earthquakes here in the last 24 hours. This line is the San Andreas fault line. This is the Juan de Fuca plate. This is the Cascadia subduction zone. And so we've got the Pacific plate down here. So we've got 4 earthquakes right here. So I'm going to call them off. A 4.3 that came in this morning at 2:53, 7.3 kilometers deep. Then a 3.2 at 3:18 this morning. So that was about a half hour after the first one. That was a 3.2. It came in at 6 kilometers deep. Then a 3.0 out here in the ocean came in at 8 o'clock this morning. And then another one over here near Petrolia at 3.5. They came in at 4:36 this afternoon. 8 kilometers deep. That's why it's still red. It just came in. So I think things are ramping up. Then down here at the geysers, they've got a slow day at the geysers, only 3, and a 1, a 0.8, and a 1. Now moving on down. Nothing in the San Francisco area or the Hayward area. See, is just so obviously so much less on the weekend. Here's a 1.9 near New Adria, California. They're calling it a 2.0 down here. Came in at 3:04 this afternoon, right on the red line. Then over to the east of the red line was a 2.5 near Coalinga that came in at 4:50 this afternoon. And then a 2.4 near Coalinga came in at 12:22 this afternoon. Moving on down this fault line, here's a 1.8 near Pine Mountain Club. Now, coming on down into Southern California, we're seeing so many less. There are 32 in the viewing area right here. So it's an obvious downsizing of the numbers of earthquakes. This is the biggest one, a 3.5 near San Clemente Island, near the southeast tip. Came in at 12:19 this afternoon, and it was a minus 0.1 kilometers depth. Minus 0.1. In the ocean. I still don't understand that, and no one's explained it to me. Then here's a 1.9 near Coronado in the ocean here. Came in at 7:59 this morning, 17 kilometers deep. See? Right here. Here's San Diego. one down here at Salton Sea, 1.2 near an island. Then they're just peppered around. Here's a 1.8. Here's a 1.7. So they're just peppered around. Let's look at Kauai. We've got 15 here in this area. 1.4. And they're under ones. Most of them are under one, so they're small. It's just amazing to me how the number of earthquakes just goes way down on the weekend and the holidays. Here's a 0.9 on this highway that happened this morning at 12:01 this morning. Here's a 1.1 near Coso Junction and a 1.0 near Olancha. Here's Mammoth Lakes. Only 2 here today. A 0.8 right here and a 1.5 right here. Almost right on the road. Here's Lake Crowley. So a quiet day in some respects, but a not quiet day for other parts of the world. Not quiet at all. We saw that. So let's see what else has happened since we started our report today. Go out here. .5 Petrolia at 4:36. We saw that. 3.8 at Kodiak. We saw that. I think we got them all. I think we got them all. So I think that's a wrap for today. So my name is Margo. I love you all very much. I do believe that we are very close to the end. And everyone needs to get their spiritual houses in order, whatever that means for you. And until next time, God bless everyone. Go in peace, and I'll talk to you real soon. Goodbye.